everyone, welcome to episode 103 of the arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is a video podcast where I talk about all the things that I have been knitting and spinning on for the past week. Today it is Saturday, January 25th, and I have a lot of updates for you all. Well, I didn't do as much knitting as I did in the last episode, like last week, but I actually washed and blocked a whole bunch of things, and so I do want to just show that to you all. I do have a couple finished objects, or is it one finished object of actual knitting was done for an entire project this past week, and I have a new cast on, and I have some just updates on some of my whips. I actually really brought down my whip number at the end of last year and beginning of this year. I really had so many whips just on my needles, and it was kind of overwhelming, and so I really tried my best to work them down. I think a lot of them were actually test knits, and so I really kind of just got those done out of the way, and so I'm feeling really good right now with how many projects I have kind of going at the same time. And yeah, I'm just overall feeling pretty good about my knitting. So, I mean, I feel I always feel pretty good, but I'm feeling extra good, which also means maybe more cast-ons in the next few weeks. But yeah, okay, so with that, I do want to start off with what I am wearing because it is one of my fully finished objects. It is washed and blocked, and I think last time I did not even have the I-cord ties here, so I got that knitted and done. I think I was almost done with the hood as well, so I'll, of course, finish the hood, got the I-cord done, and I'm wearing it, and I'm really excited. And it's washed and blocked, and so it's fully done now. This is the the Traveler hoodie by Andrea Mowry. The yarn I used is Woolberry Fiber Co. Berry Sport in the colorway Corgi Caboose. And the yarn I decided to use for this, I was looking through my stash. I was looking for maybe a black or maybe a super dark brown, but then I saw this color and I thought that this would be a really cute kind of pop of color, but still matches the rest of it. This is actually some leftover yarn from a previous project from a sweater. This is Olivia and Oliver Fibers Classic Sock Base in the colorway Burnt Umber, and that is a fingering weight base, but I held it double to make the I-cord, so it worked out really nice, and I really like it. This is my first time wearing this hoodie, so as I'm kind of going through the podcast, we'll see how I feel in it, but overall right now it is so comfortable, and I really like how it blocked out, so I do have notes on that as well. But first off, so I knit size 1, and I use US 5 needles or 3.75 millimeter needles for, I believe that's the main needle size for the body, and there's different needle size for the ribbing, and for I think part of the hood, but I followed the instructions. I didn't make any modifications. I didn't even really lengthen the body. It was something I was considering, and I do have yarn. I have leftover yarn. I have I have it here. I have this much of a skein left, plus a full untouched skein left over, so I haven't taken final yardage measurements yet for my yarn, but I think that I am pretty under the estimate is going to be my guess, since I have a full skein that I didn't even wind up for this. But I do not regret, I don't think I made any mistakes there in terms of oh, I had so much leftover yarn and I wish the body was longer. I actually really like the length of the body on this, so I will stand up so you can see the length of this on me, and I'll back up a little bit. So here you can see the length on me. I am wearing high-waisted-ish pants, but actually my belly button is right here, and so the ribbing just starts right under that, and so it's not it really isn't super cropped. Before I washed and blocked this, I think that this was hitting me kind of right here, the bottom of the ribbing was up here, and so blocking really helped make this a bit longer. It also made the sleeves longer too. So this is the actual like sleeve length. If it's relaxed on me, my fingers are like, it's basically up till my middle finger. But if you have heard me talk about before, I prefer sleeves to be really long, unless they are baggy sleeves. Like if the sleeve circumference at the end makes it so that I can't just leave it. Like for this one, the sleeves are long, but I can just have them, I can just, kind of scrunch them up, and then they stay at my wrist. They won't fall over onto my hand if I go like this. If the sleeve is like wide, then I don't want it to really go over my fingers, because then I can't do anything. But for the ones that do have kind of like a ribbed cuff where it's a bit, just like a bit more snug so that it won't fall over my hand, I love, because then I have the option to keep my hands free, or when my hands are cold, to do this, because I love doing this with my clothes, keeping my hands warm, because my hands are always cold. So the sleeves did grow quite a bit, and again, it was expected to grow because of the stitch pattern. But I really like the length that it is. I like the length of the body. So I believe that when you knit it, so I followed the instructions. It says when you knit, so this is bottom up. So you knit, I think this is 2 inches of rib, and then from the start, you're cast on till you split. For the sleeves, for my size at least, it says I think 7 inches total, and that is unstretched, unblocked measurement. And right now what I have is about 10 inches. So it did grow, it seems like 3 inches for me. When I blocked this, I did not, I wouldn't say aggressively stretched it down, but I did make sure to stretch it out so that I would get more length, because I was worried that I was like, maybe I should have made the body a little bit longer, but the length it is right now is perfect. What else? I guess I can turn around and show you the hood, because it is really nice. Here's the hood. I don't know if you can see it. I'm trying to be centered here. It is nice and wide, and here's how it fits. It drapes really, I feel like, let me put my hair in the back. It's gonna look kind of weird. I feel like if you can't see my hair, like when I'm wearing hats or hoods, I look kind of funny, but I want you to see like the actual like shape of the hood. It is like kind of wide this way, but it's nice, because I'd rather it be like this nice drape on my head versus something that looks like this. So I really like the roominess on the hood, and the instructions for making the hood were really nice, really easy. One detail that I do really like about this hood is that you can see the pickup for it leaves this nice, it just looks like a really nice line. It starts with the purl bumps, and so it has this purl bump, the purl bump stitches going around where you had your neck. I guess were those decreases? Yeah, they're decreases to make the neck opening. So I think that was a really nice detail. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this. Again, this is my first day fully wearing this, but right now it is feeling very comfortable. It is a sport weight yarn that I use, and so it is feeling lightweight, but not so lightweight where I feel like it won't keep me warm, but it feels very wearable in that sense, not like super overly bulky that will make it really hot. I am wearing right now a long sleeve under this, so that could be kind of the factor, but I feel like I would normally probably wear a long sleeve under this unless it was a lot warmer. Then I guess there is the possibility of wearing a short sleeve. I'm putting this over just to keep you a little warmer, which I feel like is actually kind of a nice option. You can be nice and warm because there's nice amount of, I guess it depends what kind of ease you choose for your hoodie, but for me it has lots of room, so I can wear a long sleeve shirt under this and not feel like it's really like too tight on me. But also I think it would feel really nice to just wear this on its own or with like a tank top or a t-shirt under it. So yeah, so that's really nice. Oh, I also love the yarn color. I think this is a great choice. I was a little worried because it is a variegated yarn, how it would look in this stitch pattern, or just like as for like a full-on hoodie with a hood, like would it just look too much, even though it is neutral colors. I just wasn't sure, but I love how the colorway looks. I think it's actually really great, and it's more subtle in the variegation than I was kind of worried it was going to be, and so it's actually, I think, super wearable to wear this like in this colorway out for just like most things. So I'm very, very happy with how this came out overall. Yeah, made no modifications. I love it. I just need to figure out how to take, I have been really bad about taking finished objects pictures last year, and I'm hoping to be better at it. I'm still trying to catch up posting those finished object pictures on Instagram. So hopefully this can go up, soon. But we'll see. And I'm hoping it'll go up soon before I wear it too much, just because I want the picture to be in its most like pristine state. But yeah, this might get a lot of wear from me right now, because it's, again, very comfortable. So, and so cute. But yeah, okay, that was along what I'm wearing today, but I hope that was helpful. And let's move on now to some finished objects. Okay, I have a lot of finished objects, but a lot of them were, I already showed it to you, and all that needed to be done was to wash and block them. And so I just want to show them to you now that they're washed and blocked. So I'll go through it really quickly because I've already talked about them quite a bit. These are my DRK Everyday Socks by Andrea Mowry. These were my Christmas socks I cast on Christmas Eve with my friends. We spun the same colorway of the fiber, which is the fibers from created by Elsie, and the fiber content is Polwarth and Mulberry silk, although I think Emily and Maya had a different fiber base because they got it before us. But the colorway is Vintage Christmas. So cute. I did oh my gosh, what is it called? I did a chain ply to get like a 3-ply yarn and to have self-stripe, kind of like a self-striping yarn, and I think that I accomplished that. My goal was not to make the stripes match up between both socks, although in some areas it kind of looks like it is and also not at the same time, but I on purpose wanted them to look, for the stripes to be in different places on both of these socks. Now they're washed and blocked, and so I can actually like hold it up and it looks more like a sock. So I did want to show it to you that they actually look like socks now. The Andrea Mowry pattern, the DRK Everyday Socks, is a 2x2 rib. It is toe up, and I do think nowadays I do have a preference for toe up socks, but I'm not opposed to doing cuff down socks, and so I do like a good toe up sock. I think that ribbed socks are really nice to kind of like figure out or have like the best fit for me. I feel like the ribbed socks that I do have just feel like they fit my foot better, and I think it's because they have so much stretch in them that there's a little bit more play with actual sizing of your foot for it to still fit. So that is my socks, washed and blocked. Oh, I want to say, when I wash and block my socks, I don't put them on sock blockers. I did before, and I think the ones I got were too big, and so all of my socks ended up being too loose. So I really just like put them in the shape like this, and then just leave them flat to dry. And that actually goes for everything else I block too. I never pin anything. I just kind of lay it flat and dry. So yeah. Oh, while I'm talking about all the things that I have washed and blocked this past week, because I was on a roll this week, do want to mention, because I don't know if I've mentioned my problems about things drying really slow here, because it's so cold now. But I think that the best combination so far that I found. And the way that I got my Traveler hoodie to dry so quickly is that I did get, I have so many new things. Let me back up a little bit. I got a Struck It. I think I've mentioned this before, for my birthday, for my boyfriend. Very nice of him. I did ask him for it, specifically the pink one, because if there's a pink version of something, I need to get the pink one. But it is like basically a bucket that has a strainer in it that just makes washing clothes or knits or, whatever else you want to use it for just really easy, because you can soak, at least for your knitting, you can soak your knitting in the bucket with that strainer thing in there. And then when you're done and you want to squeeze out the water, you can pull out the strainer thing. And then, so what I do is I pull out the strainer thing and have it just drain the water as it's just sitting there. And then especially for bigger knitted objects, so like this hoodie, for example, it's really hard for me in the past to pull it out of my bucket and try to squeeze out the water without it falling back into the bucket, or the sleeve kind of hanging out and then just overly stretching because it's falling towards the ground, and it's really heavy because it's wet. But with the strainer thing, I can just kind of leave it hanging in the strainer and squeeze the water out, and it'll just come out of the bottom, but it's still being held and supported with the strainer thing. So I think that has been really nice. I've used it quite a bit now, and I really, really, really like it. So yeah, so that has been really handy. But for drying my knits, I have a box fan, kind of a big one, and I put that on facing my hoodie. And then I also got some blocking mats. Finally, I've been wanting them for a while. I usually have just I know people say not to do this, but in the past, when I was living in the place before this one, where it was warmer in the actual place, so my knits really didn't take too long to dry, I either laid them on a towel, or I laid them on... Actually, was that how I did it in the very beginning? I think that's how I always did it in the beginning. And then I did get kind of a clothes rack thing to hang, which has a lot of holes, and so it's kind of hard to lay something flat, but it kind of works sometimes, and so I also had that. I also have a mesh square thing to lay it on, which is kind of nice because then there's airflow both at the top and the bottom. So I think that also still is really helpful. But I got blocking mats. It's those foam puzzle-y square things that you can put together, and I got that. And so I laid this on that, put the box fan on it, and it was dry the next day. And I was like, oh, it's so nice. That is so nice. So I think that is my winning combination here. And so now I don't feel as anxious to block things, because then, I don't know why, when things are wet and take so long to dry, my knits, it bugs me. I don't know why, but okay, that was a really long side note on that, but I wanted to update you all because I think that update has been way overdue. But just this past week, I brought out my box fan and I was like, oh, it's great. Okay, I think I finished talking about my socks. Oh, I want to talk about this next. This is also great timing. This is my Curiosity hat by Tori. I test knit this for her, and the pattern is out today. Although when you're watching this video, which will be Sunday, it came out yesterday on Saturday. But today's Saturday while I'm filming, so it came out today. And I did wash and block this. I got finished object pictures. They're on my Instagram. And I love it. I wore it this morning, and there's something about Tori U's hat patterns, although there is one that I have not knit yet, but I really want to knit. But if you know, or if you watch for a while, I have knit every single version of the Manhattan hat that she has. I think I might have 3 or 4 Manhattan hats. I love them. They're my favorite hat. And so, anyway, I trust Tori Yu and her hat patterns. So I test knit this for her. This is really exciting because this is her first pattern where she used her own handspun to make it. And so I also wanted to make mine in some Handspun, and so the yarn I use for this is, the Handspun is fiber from Nest Fiber in the Cassiopeia colorway, and it was a Targi fiber. And then for the second color that's in this, which I will flip this now inside out because it's a very cool pattern. This solid color here is Denali sock from Explorer Knits in the colorway Gum Wall. So it's just a really nice pink, and I think that the combination of these two in this stitch pattern is really, really nice. It came out, I think what I really like is it kind of toned down the bright colors in the Handspun to just look overall like colorful but like blended, and so I'm really happy with that. I will pull this out so you can actually see how this was constructed again. So this hat was knit starting at this point here, so it is not halfway from the hat, or from, you know, this length. It is not halfway. There is more of this stitch pattern that happens versus the stockinette side. And so you knit with two different colors for this side in the stitch pattern. It is not color work. You just, each round you switch your yarn to the other color. And then you do the crown decreases. You pick up your provisional cast on, you knit in stockinette and do your crown decreases here. And then you do this thing where you fold it inside itself, because it looks really long. You're like, how is that a hat? So you fold it inside itself. Oh gosh. Like this. And then, yeah, I kind of just like hold the inside and then just like kind of try to make it flat and smooth all the way around, and then you can just fold the brim for the hat, and so you get two different looking hats depending on how you do it. So you either get all of this stitch pattern, or you can flip it the other way around where you have your solid color or whatever color you decide to do stockinette side, and then you still get the really cool patterned side for your folded brim. And I am so obsessed with this. I tried on this hat after blocking it and I love it so much. Okay, I'm going to put it on so you can see it, because now that it's fully finished, this is like the actual final like fit and sizing. I feel like the top of the hat, the colorway is blending into my wall behind me, but it's very cute. It's very cozy. It fits. I think, you know, you can fold the brim a little less if you want a little bit more kind of like room, or like for it to be relaxed at the top versus like smooth on your head, which is, I do like when it has a little more room. But I think it's really cute, and I surprised myself because when I was knitting this, I was like, I think that the side I would probably wear most is with the plain tonal on the main part and then the stitch pattern brim. But I actually really, really like just the entire hat being this, because so when I took my finished object pictures of this, I took pictures of me with the hat on with both sides, and I actually really like the look of this, and so I think that this will actually be the side that I wear the most. I think it's really cute stitch pattern, and the color is really me, and so it overall works really nicely. I knit the size adult small, and I use US 3 needles or 3.25 millimeter needles, and the thing that I really love about this is like how it feels, because I use like a fingering weight yarn, although you can also use sport weight yarn. Sport weight yarn is what Tori used for hers, and I use fingering. But because you have to like fold in one side to the other, it is like a double layered hat, and so it has a nice like weight to it. Like it doesn't just feel like, I feel like if you just had a fingering weight hat, it's cute but doesn't keep you warm, or not as warm. But this one keeps my head warm, and I feel like it almost feels like it's like a double layer, like insulation type of thing or something. That's, I don't know, in my head that's kind of like how I'm thinking about it, and so it keeps me really warm. And the double brim also, like, then now there's like 4 layers like right around here, and that's super nice, and it does cover the top of my ears. The top of my ears, when it gets cold the quickest, like when the top of my ears start hurting, I know it's like really cold outside. So my beanies, my hats always have to cover my ears, at least the top part of it, for it to feel like it's actually doing something for me. But it's so cute. I really like it. I am obsessed with this, and so I feel like I would definitely be into making another one, especially if I have some like handspun, that would be really great for this. I do really like how it looks with the color changing yarn. I think it'd be also great with the variegated yarn if you don't have color changing or if you don't spin yarn. That would also be really great. So yeah, you can always switch it up too. You could have my friend Megan, she switched up which one was her handspun and the tonal color. So you could have it where, I forget now if it's color, I think color A is probably the main color. For me is the tonal, and color B is the handspun. But check the pattern if you decide to get this. But instead of making color B her handspun, color changing, she used her handspun for color A, and so her handspun is used for this part of it, like the part where it's just one color or one of your yarn, and then for this double, or the part with the stitch pattern, the colors are like reverse. Because for mine, and Megan explains this really well in her podcast where she talks about the stitch pattern and which color it shows up, but for mine, the handspun color changing is the background. It is all like the knit stitches, but all of the pearl knit stitches where it's creating that texture is in my tonal color. But if you switch up your yarn on which one you're doing, then you'll get the opposite, where the actual kind of like stitch pattern where it has like those, it looks kind of like a diamond shape is how it kind of looks. That would be in your color changing yarn or your variegated yarn, and it looks really cute. So I think either way is a winning combination. But yeah, this is really great, and the pattern is out now, so you can make one for yourself. And Tori made hers with fiber and yarn from Yarn Jam, and so Yarn Jam also has kits out for this pattern if you want to make your hat to look just like Tori used, because it is very cute. Or you can just get some other different yarn from Yarn Jam if you want to. So that is also a great option. And yeah, so that is my Curiosity hat. Again, this was finished last week, but it is just now washed and blocked this week, and the pattern's out. So a great opportunity to talk about this again. And then Northwoods V-neck. I'm still on things that have just been washed and blocked this past week. Northwoods V-neck. This is my Boucle knit sweater with my friends. I am very, very happy with this finished object. This is a pattern by Jessie Maed Designs, and the yarn I use is Explore Knits Boucle DK in the colorway Churros Con Chocolate. I knit size extra small, and I used US 4 3.5 millimeter needles to knit this, and wow, it is great. Now that it's washed and blocked, the drape, I feel like the drape on Boucle is always like super nice after blocking, because then it kind of, Boucle does not block out like a lot, like it doesn't grow a lot after washing, but it does leave a nice, it kind of just relaxes a little bit, and so it really has a nice like flowy drapiness to it, and it is so soft now. Okay, I talk about I just remembered. Okay, US 4 needles, 3.5 millimeter needles. I did have to size down a lot. Seems like whenever I knit Boucle, I have to size down my needles quite a bit. Oh, the other thing is that this pattern is actually not written for Boucle. Me and my friends decided to just, knit this pattern, but with Boucle instead. Actually, Sylvan is the first one to have knit this pattern with Boucle, and it worked out for her. So we felt a lot more comfortable making this pattern in Boucle because she made it and it worked out. So My main concern for this was that I only had 3 skeins of Boucle. And because this is a little bit more of a boxy, slightly oversized sweater, I was worried I was going to run out, but I used almost like just exactly 3 skeins of Boucle to knit the extra small size. And it is great. You'll see me wear this sometime in the future, but I'll hold it up so you don't have to wait too long, but it is not cropped. I think it's the perfect length. The sleeves, I didn't have to, crop or shorten either. And the V-neck depth is perfect for me. I don't like V-necks that are too deep because then I just feel like I would have to wear a shirt under, and I sometimes just want a V-neck where I can just wear it as a V-neck. And as you can see, the depth on this is super nice. I think that Boucle, if you can get the correct, if you're subbing in a Boucle for like a DK weight yarn pattern, if you can get stitch gauge, which for me is always too big with the recommended needle size, I have to size down. The row gauge is pretty short for Boucle. And so the V-neck, I think, actually ended up shorter because of that, like not as deep, because if you just knit like the recommended amount of rows for like this increase, with Boucle, it's going to end up a little bit shorter because of the gauge of Boucle and just how it works. But for me, it ended up being the perfect amount, and so it really just worked out nicely for this. And yeah, it was a great knit. I love Boucle knits, and I think this will be my favorite Boucle sweater out of the ones that I have so far. And I love this color. This is a great color. It's so pretty. I really, really like it. So yeah, this is my Boucle sweater, V-neck sweater, and I love it. And then, okay, yeah, that is it. That's all I have for the things that I have finished and washed and blocked this past week. So let's move on to my whips. I don't have too many this week, not as much as last week, although I did have a lot of finished objects to talk about this week. But again, I just wanted to show it to you washed and blocked. But let me just show you what I worked on this week. So really quickly, just to get this one out of the way because it's nothing super exciting, I did work a little bit more on my Birch pullover. It's just something I want to continue to just like work on a little bit every week, because this is such a massive sweater, and by massive I mean super small needles, so lots of stitches to have to knit. I just want to keep going at it instead of trying to feel like I need to make huge amounts of progress at a time. But this is what I have in total right now. I am still on the first sleeve, but you can see here, look how cute this stitch marker is. I bought it from Amy Sher's store because it's so cute. And anyway, this is my stitch marker for where I was last week, and so I did work this much of sleeve this past week. The rest of my stitch markers are just counting, or just showing where my decreases are. And yeah, that's just where I'm at. Nothing super exciting, just continuing to work on that first sleeve. But I forgot that, so if you haven't made the Birch pullover before by Mowry, it is half fisherman's rib, I believe is the name of that stitch. I hope that's correct. Half fisherman's rib. So when you're knitting it in the round, every other round is an all purl round, which sounds pretty annoying, but I feel like, and I felt this way the first time I've knit this, so this is my second time I'm knitting the Birch pullover. You kind of like just fall into this rhythm of doing it, and so it really doesn't bother me too much, but it is a lot of knitting. The yarn I'm using for this is Explore Knits and Fibers Earthy Sock. This is my first time using the Earthy Sock base from them, which is a non-superwash yarn base, fingering weight, in the colorway Bainbridge Island, which I love. I'm knitting size 1, and I'm using US 2 needles or 2.75 millimeter needles to knit this. So yes, very small needle size. I think the thing that really makes this super enjoyable to work on though is knitting it with such a pretty yarn color. Maybe it's hard, it's probably easiest to see it knit up in the sweater, but it is just like the perfect pastel pink, golden, yellow, kind of like gray, purpley blue in there, and it's just really pretty, and I really like it. So it makes knitting this enjoyable, even if the process takes like a really, really long time. So, but I think I'm almost done with the first sleeve, and so if I could get the first sleeve done, if not next week, the week after, I feel like it would be great. Although, as you can see, like, I am not that far on the body, and so even if I get the first or both sleeves done, I'll have an entire body left to knit, but I'm not going to think about it too much right now. Oh, and as far as like knitting with this yarn, because this is my first time knitting with the non-superwash, it's very nice. I feel like there's something about it that feels slightly different than the Woolberry non-superwash yarn. I think that the Woolberry non-superwash yarn is softer. However, that does mean I think that the Woolberry one, because it is softer, is probably going to pill more. My first Birch pullover is using a Woolberry non-superwash. And so it'd be kind of cool to compare once I'm done with this one and wear it a bit to see if it pills as much too. But it is still very, very soft. Like this is not, if you're worried about rustic yarn and non-superwash being too itchy, I wouldn't worry about it with this one. It is very, very soft. So yeah, it's great. And the colors look so watercolory, and I love that. So that is my quick update on my Birch pullover. The next thing that I have to talk about is, my test knit. This is what I have spent most of my time on this past week, because it's a test knit and it's a massive knitted thing. And so I realized, well, anyway, let me talk about it. This is the Kermode hoodie by Winter's Weather Knits. Again, test knit. I am using the recommended yarn, or the yarn that was used in the sample for the pattern, or that the designer used for hers. It is the Julie Asseline Boucle yarn in the colorway Dentelle. So it is a boucle. I'm very into boucle right now. It is a different fiber composition, or the fiber composition is different than the other boucles I've knit with. The other boucles are all superwash merino, and these are not. I think I talked about it last week, and I don't know where my labels are right now. Oh, actually, let me find it. It is right here. I talked about this last week, but just in case you didn't see it, this boucle is 70% alpaca and 30% Highland. So there's alpaca in this boucle, which made me really, really excited to try it out. If you're a tester for this, we got a discount on this yarn for being testers, and so I took advantage of that and got that yarn. And I love this purple colorway on it, and I am knitting size extra small. And so if I start talking about how many stitches there are, I do realize, and I understand that I am knitting the smallest size, and so this really is nothing compared to the other sizes. But this is a massive hoodie, but I think it's going to be the coziest thing ever. And I'm using US 4 needles, 3.5 millimeter needles to knit this. And yeah, that's like the same needle size. US 4 seems to be a great needle size for me for boucle. That kind of seems to be what a lot of the stitch gauges that boucle patterns seem to have. So it's working out for me. And okay, I talked about the construction again last week a little bit, but as a reminder, this is a open hoodie, like an open cardigan hoodie that has optional like bear ears on the top that I will definitely be making, because how cute is that? But the construction on this is very interesting, and I am really, really excited to actually start putting the pieces together and see how that all works out. Okay, it starts with like the back panel plus the back of the sleeves. It's done all in one piece, and so it is squished on the needles here, but the entire piece spans from one end of the sleeve all the way across your body to the next end of the sleeve. So unsquished, this really does span all the way from this side all the way to my wrist on the other side. And you can see, so there's short row shaping that happens. And so you can see that this is the cuff right here because it is this short. So that's going to be like one side of the cuff. And then you get a really nice, it like poofs out. So you get a nice shaping, I guess, so for the sleeve, it'd be like it decreases to the wrist, which is really nice as far as like fit-wise go. I think it'll be super nice. And one thing I did want to mention, because I forgot to mention it last week, and I'm going to pull it up just to make sure I remember the name of this correctly, is that the short rows are done with a type of stitch that I've never heard of before. So I have done a German short row, like when you pull your working yarn, you slip it and then you like pull it around so it makes a double stitch. I've done that for short rows, and I've also done the wrap and turn for short rows. It is my least favorite to do the wrap and turns. I don't like it, and the only reason why I don't like it is because I always forget how to work that stitch when I come back to it, and then I end up getting a weird thing around the stitch. So German short rows are my favorite type of short rows, but I could also be converted to really liking this kind of short row. Oh, actually, I think, well, anyway, this uses twin stitches for wrapping your stitches for short rows. And you can look up online. I had to use a video, which the designer for this does have a video and has it linked in the pattern too. So if you're making this and worried, you don't have to worry. But I watched the video to see how to do this twin stitch for doing the short rows and doing like that double stitch. And once you get it, it's very intuitive and it's really nice. And I was worried about being able to see that double stitch in the boucle or be able to like work it, but it's actually not too bad. And I wonder if maybe it is done this way because it's easier to see and work in boucle, because I know sometimes German short rows can get kind of like, when it's really tight and you want it to be tight so there's no holes, like it's kind of hard to like work your needle through both of like the legs of that stitch. But there are stitch markers that do mark where to do it, so you won't actually like accidentally miss it, or like if you can't find it, it'll be okay because there's stitch markers. But yeah, I wanted to mention that twin stitches for short rows. I've never worked it before, but it's really nice. I like it a lot. Okay, so as far as where I was last time, this is my stitch marker from last time. So I feel like I doubled what I knit from before. So this is actually now done. This section is now done. I am still attached to my ball of yarn, which is what the instructions say, and then I am starting now the front part of this, and I am hoping to, the construction, I'm probably not explaining it really nicely, so it might be really confusing, but once I get some pieces together, I'll be able to explain it a bit more. But I have also now finished this front left sleeve, which is worked flat. Both of these pieces have provisional cast-ons. So I did something different with this provisional cast-on. The first provisional cast-on for the entire back and sleeve. I did the provisional cast-on where you do the crochet chain. And then I was like, because that sounds like it'd be a pain to have to pick up because of boucle, I was like, what if I just did a provisional cast on, the one where you kind of like wrap your yarn around and you don't do the crochet chain, and then I provisional cast on onto a stitch holder, and then that way when I'm ready to pick it up, I just slide it all back onto my needles. I will say this was pretty finicky to cast on this way, but we'll see if I feel like it's worth it in the end, when hopefully it's super easy to put it back on my needles. But so I did that with this provisional cast on. And this is the left sleeve. So if you can imagine it, this is the front part of the left sleeve here. And this provisional cast on will be connected to the back piece at the top and also at the bottom under the arm here. So we'll see how that works. I'm very excited. But yeah, this felt so much nicer to knit because it is short. It's shorter than the other back plus both sleeves length of fabric to have to knit. So this actually worked out pretty quickly. And so I am looking forward to and hoping I can finish the right front sleeve section this coming week or the next 2 weeks, so that I can start connecting. That'll be really nice. And I want to say, I think I'm working through this. It's hard for me to tell. I usually like to be early for test knits. I don't like to kind of be like right up to the deadline. Sometimes it happens, but if I can avoid it, I like to be early. Because this construction is so different to me, I have a really hard time trying to figure out how long it's going to take me to finish the entire thing, if you know what I mean. Like, I feel like, if it's you knit body and then you knit each sleeve separately, I kind of feel like, oh, I could knit a whole sleeve in a week if I, needed to. Like, it could happen, so like one sleeve per week and then the body, whatever. But for this one, because it's just like knit in different sections, right? Each of those front sleeves is half a sleeve, but the back part really wasn't. I was just like, it feels like it's going to take a long time, so I had to try to get as much done as possible because there is still the rest of the body plus the hood. And anyway, I feel like I'm hoping that I am on track to finish this. I think I am, because I am kind of zooming through this, but anyway, it just was a thought that occurred to me. I was like, oh, it's going to be hard for me to predict how long it's going to take me to finish certain sections of this pattern because the construction is so different. But I will say, to my surprise, it is knitting up quicker than I was fearing, but again, we'll have to wait till I actually finish the whole thing to see how I'm feeling like knitting wise through this is kind of how long it is going to take, if that makes sense. I feel like I've been talking really fast, so I need to like calm down a little bit. I'm just really excited about this test knit. It's so cute. Okay, let's move on. I have one more whip to show you and then a new cast on. So this one may come to no surprise. I'm still working on my January socks. And so these are the Seasons sock by Summer Lee. It's my first pattern knitting from Summer Lee, and I don't know why it took me so long to do it, because I've heard such great things, and I know her sock patterns are so cute, but I'm finally doing it. And I love the stitch pattern. So I finished the first side. You can see my stitch marker here. This is cuff down, knit with a heel flap and gusset for the heel worked here. So I finished up this first sock. You can see here. It fits really nicely. So I'm really glad about that. And then I did get started on my second side here. I never really get, what do you call it? Like second sock syndrome, where you knit one sock and then you like don't knit the other side for a really long time. I feel like I don't really get that, but maybe it's because I just feel motivated to just like finish the socks. Or at least like if I finish the first one, I need to cast on next so that I don't get stuck at the cast on point for the second sock. So I did start the second one, and I'm almost there to where I can start the heel. Actually, I think I might be like right there. Maybe like a few more rows or something. But I'm very close, and so it's feeling really nice. I really like working the stitch pattern, and I mean, again, it's always really nice when you're knitting with yarn that you think is like really pretty looking. So, because it just, you know, it's fun to knit. So, speaking of yarn, the yarn I am using is a sock set from Paisley Knits. It was from her Japan collection, and so the main color here, the variegated, is Kyoto. And the mini skein I got is in the tonal Sakura, which is a really pretty pink. And yeah, these are going to be super nice socks to wear. I can already tell, and I can see it being a sock pattern that I want to knit more socks of. So yeah, they're just working out really nicely. I am using US 1 size needles. That is my preferred needle size for socks. And I always use metal needles for socks, but I prefer wooden needles for everything else, which I think is pretty interesting for me. I don't know why. There's just something about metal needles I much prefer for socks. Maybe because the needles are so skinny that I am worried I'm going to break the wooden ones. But yeah, US 1 needles, 2.25 millimeter needles, and I'm knitting size medium for these socks. So they're working out really nicely. And then finally, I will show you my new cast on, which I think I said I was going to cast on last week, and I actually got pretty far. But this worked out way quicker. Like, I'm actually shocked at how much I got done this past week. I cast on the Seaway Pullover by Ozetta using the Harrisville Designs Daylights yarn in the colorway Bloodshot. And if this sounds familiar to you because you also watch Emily Curtis, Gently Chaotic Knits on YouTube, if you watch her podcast, you'll be like, Emily knit the same thing, and I am going to be exactly twinning with her. Same exact yarn, same colorway, and same pattern. Here's what I have so far. Yes, so this is a top-down sweater. It is supposed to be slightly oversized and boxy. So yeah, it is that kind of like pretty. I feel like Ozetta's patterns is usually the same construction where you make the back panel and then you pick up for both of the fronts, you know, at the shoulders, you work the fronts, connect the front, connect under the arm, and then you get going on the body. So I am on my second ball of yarn right now. I kind of like just started it. I'm this much done through the body, but yeah, I'm connected under the arms now after 1 week, which is super crazy. But this has been a joy to work on. I'm knitting size extra small, and I'm using US 7 needles or 4.5 millimeter needles to knit this. I almost never gauge swatch when I am knitting something for myself. If it's not a test knit, I rarely gauge swatch. So I just cast this on with the recommended needle size, which I think is a US 8, which I think is 5.0 millimeters. And I started knitting the back panel, and I realized it was too big. And so I did have to size down my needles. So my needles are sized down from the recommended needle size, but just like one size. And I think I might still be just a tad big. I think that my stitch gauge is okay, but my row gauge is a little big, but it's fine. It's close enough, I think. But yeah, I'm really liking the fabric that is being created with this. The stitch pattern is very cute. I like that the cables are just like far enough apart where it doesn't look like your typical cable, but it has that. I mean, that's why I think it's called the Seaway, because it kind of looks like those waves in the ocean, and it's very cute. I think once blocked and washed, it'll look a bit nicer. It's looking a little scrunched, but it's very cute. I love this color, and yeah, it's really great. I have knit with this yarn before. It is a Kermode woolen spun yarn. I've knit with it before, but it's been a few years, and so I kind of forgot how it felt. I really enjoy working with this yarn. It feels very different to knit with, and like the resulting fabric, it feels very different than working with like a superwash yarn, or even just like a worsted spun yarn, which is kind of most yarn. The woolen spun is just so nice, and it kind of, it really like holds its shape. It's not, I wouldn't call this like a really kind of like rustic or itchy yarn, because it does have kind of like this fluffiness to it that is still very wearable. For me, is wearable. And yeah, I don't know, I just really like it. I do think that maybe the fact that it is a woolen spun yarn, that is maybe why my gauge was a little off with the recommended needle size. Like maybe because it is a bit more like airier and kind of fills in a bit more space is kind of why I needed to size down my needles. That is kind of my prediction, but it's really great. I love the color. I can't wait to have the finished object, as I say, for like every single thing I knit. Oh, one thing I did want to say is that this yarn does have a lot of, I even see it like right now, has a lot of the plant matter in it. And so I am, sometimes if it's like kind of rare or really small, I just like don't even bother and I just continue knitting. But with this one, I am, whenever I encounter it while I'm knitting, I pick it out. So I do have like a pile on my table of like the little plant matter from this yarn. So if you don't like that experience, then this yarn might be difficult to work with for you, but it is, for me, very worth it, and so I just like do that. But it is kind of like, oh wow, I don't remember that from when I knit my first one. But again, I think it's been like 3 years or 4 years since I knit with it last. So yeah, maybe that's why I didn't notice it. But it is the experience I'm experiencing. Also, there is, I forgot to mention this last week, I think. There is, so I was saying that the Daylights line from Harrisville Designs is like a cream colored yarn with little flecks of different colors in it, and so I have the one that has red flecks of color. But the yarn itself, like the main kind of base color yarn, that cream yarn, is actually, I would say, a bit more of like has a grayish tone to it, because there are sections that have like a slightly darker gray yarn, which may be hard to see knit up, but like here you can see it in the skein. Like there is a kind of like a gray section, right? Come on, camera, focus. Right here, do you see it? Like right here. And it's very subtle, so it just still overall reads like this really light, I would say more of a gray-white now, because there is some of those darker sections in there. But yeah, I was like, oh yeah, you can, it's hard to see it on camera, I feel like, but in person you can definitely see more of those grayish sections. But I still love the color, like it's really great. So yeah, gorgeous. I really like it, and I can't wait to be matching with Emily on this. So I'm really excited. I think that this could be something I finish pretty quickly, because I'm so surprised at how quickly this much has knitted up, and it's quite fun to work with. Oh, one thing that was annoying, I will say, about this pattern, I didn't know that this was part of it. The way that you, I think it's just for this back panel, where in order to know when to do the cable, she has you like put in stitch markers, but like at some point there's so many stitch markers, like because there's like 2 for each like side of the cable, and even though you alternate, if you can see it here, like actually it's kind of hard. Ooh, it's hard. Is it hard to tell? You alternate. I'm trying to position this here. There are like there's a cable here, and then a cable here, and a cable here, and a cable here. So every other time you cable, you're cabling a different side. Like it staggers. The cables stagger every time you do a cable row. I hope that makes sense. But because you still have to like keep track of where they are while you're doing the back increases, there are so many stitch markers on there that it was kind of annoying to, like, I felt like when I was holding my needles, I was holding stitch markers. It's kind of how it felt. but it didn't last for that long. I was like, ooh, if it's like this for the entire sweater, I'm just going to take them out and count. But later on, she just gives you counts. And I think it is just for when you are increasing and having to keep in that cable pattern where maybe it's a bit easier to have stitch markers. But other than that, the experience knitting this pattern is great. Yeah. Okay, so that was my one new cast on this past week. It's also one of my patterns from my Make 9 for this year. So I'm feeling really good and like starting the year off strong with some of my goals. And so this is my first year doing a Make 9, and so I'm just feeling positive about being able to accomplish this Make 9 goal because it's January and I've started one of them. So yeah, it's overall just like a really, really good time over here with my knitting. I think I only have 1, 2, 3, 4 things on my needles right now. That, yes, 4 is still quite a bit, but it is not over 10. I think at some points I have been like close to 10 or over 10, like 12, which is crazy. But 4 is really nice, but I feel like I could do 5 or 6. So like if I have some new casts on this week, that could maybe happen too. But we'll see how I'm feeling because I'm just really enjoying the projects that I'm working on right now. But that is all I have for my whips to show you all. I'm going to wrap it up now pretty quickly because it is kind of later in the day than I usually film, so I need to eat dinner soon. But I did want to share my spinning because I am trying to spin my Nest Fiber Holiday Advent 2 of the fiber, little fiber things every week, 1 tonal and 1 multicolored. So I can show you the ones I have for this week. I have thoughts about the ones that I spun for this week. Let me talk to you first about the one that I really, really like. This is this is Falkland Merino, the multicolored one. I love the colors on this. I think that it looks very like garden-y. I think, is it just because there's lots of greens and pink? I feel like when I see green and pink, I'm like, oh, that's like flowers in a garden. But these colors are really cute. I did a 2-ply kind of sort of fractal spin on this. I'm spinning them all the exact same way. But I do love this. And it's Falkland Merino. I'm trying to think, have I spun Falkland Merino before? The spinning experience was so nice. Super, super, super nice. But this was the second one I spun this week. I actually spun this one first this week, and so the experience between both of these was very different. As you can maybe tell, they look very different because this pink one, the pink is very cute. It was a merino and silk slubs. I've never spun a fiber that had slubs in it before, and I was very excited to try it. And it was good for me to try, but I really don't like spinning fiber that has slubs in it. I think the resulting yarn came out as I would admit, like the best I could hope for slubs. Like maybe this is good, but like I really don't like the slubs. This is different. I want to note here just in case, because for me I was like, oh, maybe it'll be a very similar spinning experience to tweed. And who knows, maybe different kinds of tweed or different kinds of slub fiber, the way it's done or how much there is in the fiber can have a very different spinning experience. But all of the tweed spins I've done, which is not a ton, but all the ones I have done felt way better to spin than this one. This one just felt like there were too many little chunks of things in there, and they actually fell out. Not a lot, but sometimes I was like spinning and they would be like stuck in my fingers, like they wouldn't catch onto the yarn while I was spinning. And so I just had all of these like slubs that were coming off. Some were just so big that I just pulled them off because I was like, no, I don't want that in the final yarn. But it just makes it have this look of very thick and thin, which you do just get with slubs. Like you can't make it all super even, but I just don't, it is not my favorite thing. I will say the yarn is very soft and fluffy though. I think that is just like the merino It is very soft. It is a nice yarn. I think if I knit something with it, it'll be really nice feeling. But the spinning experience was not my favorite, and I would not purposefully buy a slub fiber to spin. That's what I'll say about this one. So spinning this after it was super, super extra nice, and so maybe that's also plays into why I feel like this was super nice, but I like spinning stuff that does not have slubs in it, is what I've learned this week. But besides that, these are really, really nice colors. I really like the colors, and they're in the little skeins that I just find adorable, and I can't get enough of it, and so I can't wait to have 24 of these little mini skeins. Yeah. So that was my spinning this week. It was a very interesting experience, but I'm glad I had the experience. I just don't want to spin slub fiber again. And then I do have one acquisition this week. Oh, yeah, I have something else I want to share after this too. I have one acquisition this week. This is from Woolberry. I got 4 skeins of this. This is the berry cashmere base in the colorway cabled sweater. I believe that this was a collective colorway last year. I think November though, or December. It's a really pretty dark blue, and I got kind of like a sweater quantity of this because when I was knitting the cowl, the winter weave cowl by Bridget in the Falkland DK in like that, the oyster colorway from Little Fiber Co. It was like a dark blue, purpley, but more blue. Actually depends on what light you looked it in. Really nice color, and I loved it. And so I was like, I need more dark blue. When this colorway came out for the collective, I was like, it's my time to get some sweater quantity of a dark blue color. And it's really pretty. I really like how it looks. It also does kind of have that like slightly purpley look to it, but it is like more of a dark blue, I would say. And I do have a thought plan for this. There is a like a set, like a tank top and cardigan set that I think looks really cute, and I think that is my plan for this. I will share more details when I finally cast that on, or if I, change plans, but that is kind of like my idea for this, is to have this like set of like a tank top and cardigan, and I think that would look really cute in a dark colorway, and so that was my idea for that and for that purchase. Okay, the update I wanted to share with you all as part of my wanting to buy less yarn this year, or just be stash negative again. I'm just trying to bring down my stash numbers. I have decided to cancel my Woolberry Collective membership. I canceled it this month, so I've already paid for January because you get charged for it, I think on the 1st of the month. So I did order a colorway from the January colorways that you could choose from. But after January, that is it for me. I bet that February is going to have some really cute pink colors, and I'm going to feel like I regret that choice. But I think that it is the best choice. I have so much yarn, so much pretty yarn, and a lot of Woolberry yarn. So, and I don't really feel like, the collective colorways are like only available for collective members. But I feel like lately she has been bringing them into some of her pre-orders if they're like really popular colors. So I don't think I'm going to feel too much like FOMO from missing some collective colorways. And there was a point last year where I was starting to feel a bit like, wow, if I don't get a sweater quantity of something every month, then I feel like I'm wasting the membership. Because you do get 10% off of every yarn purchase, including pre-orders. But the membership is $40 a month, and that gets you 1 free skein of yarn every month. And so, of course, $40 is more than 1 skein of yarn, right? And so if you just get your 1 free skein of yarn every month, and you don't buy anything else from Woolberry, you're ending up paying more for less yarn than if you didn't have the membership and bought that same amount of yarn from Woolberry, if that makes sense. So there were some months where I felt pressured to like buy a sweater quantity so that I feel like I am using the 10% off and actually saving by having the membership. But then I was like, why? I shouldn't feel pressured to buy more yarn just because of something like that. So since I am kind of, I will say the first year of being in the collective was very, very helpful discount wise. It was really nice. But last year it was starting to feel kind of like that. And so of course I think she opens memberships twice a year. So if I ever feel like I want to join again, you know, again, I don't feel like, you know, it's not a permanent decision, but I think that it is a right decision for me right now. So I did cancel that. And I also canceled my Nest Fiber Club. That is the monthly fiber club that I was a part of for, I think, maybe a little over a year. Is it 2 years? Maybe 2 years. Maybe a year and a half or something. I loved it so much. I love her colorways. I don't think that there is ever a colorway I got where I was like, I absolutely don't love it. Like, even if the colors were something that were not my favorite colors, which basically just means if it didn't have a pink in it, I still love the color combination. Like, it's great. I think that we just have a very similar color choices that we really like. So I love the fiber. I love her fiber. I just have so much of it that I haven't spun yet. And so I am canceling it. I can rejoin, I think, anytime I want. And so I did tell her, I was just like, I love your fiber and colorway so much, but I just have so much of your fiber right now that I want to spin through before potentially joining again. So I've canceled 2 memberships. I'm feeling really, really happy about that. I will say I'm not at 0 monthly memberships. I did sign up for the La Mercerie Year of Fiber, and so that is a monthly thing that I am getting fiber. But I think it's better to have 1 thing of fiber every month than 2 things of fiber every month. And so I feel like I'm kind of, like swapping that out. But I'm canceling 2 memberships and joined 1. So I feel like I'm still on like a good path there. But yeah, I wanted to share that update with you all because it is something that I'm trying to work towards my goals that way. And also just to make me feel happier. Like, I'm not doing it just to do the goal, but it's making me sad. Like, it makes me feel happy to do it as well. Because I want to work through all of the pretty yarn and fiber that I have already. So, but yeah, that is my update. And I think that's all I have to share with you all this week. I hope you all had a great week. I had, honestly, kind of a stressful week of work, but I got back to skating. I only skated 1 day last week, but kind of got back into it. Gonna get real back to schedule this coming week with skating. I felt really good. I was sore, though. My muscles were sore the day after I skated. I was like, oh, I haven't used these muscles in, it's been a week and a half, but like, wow, a week and a half really kind of just like, things change, but it's fine. Just getting back into it, getting back to doing some exercise, getting back to seeing my skating friends. We had a knit call on Friday night. Yeah, last night. Just a really quick call. I got to see my friends, which I said in the last podcast, I haven't been to a in-person knit night in not this year yet. So it was really good to catch up with all of my friends and to know what's happening, what's going on, and all of that. So that was really nice. And so I'm feeling really good. We're feeling really good for this coming week. This weekend's gonna feel nice. Feels nice already. I got a lot of stuff done in the yard today. We're trying to, I think we have plans to like plant some trees this year, so I'm really excited. Like fruit trees, like apple trees. I feel like that'd be really nice. That is kind of the plan. So kind of just like figuring out where we want to put all of that. We're trying to dig up another tree just to move it. It's not a big tree, it's a smaller tree, but it's taking us a lot longer than we thought to dig it out. But anyway, that's just other information that's happening around here, but all together it's just I've been feeling really good this past week. A lot better than, I don't know, something about the beginning of the year. I was happy but a little stressful. But now I feel like I've kind of eased back into something that feels a bit more normal, and so I'm feeling more relaxed. I don't read books like most people. I feel like everyone except for me reads books or listens to audiobooks and stuff like that. And I don't. I feel like maybe one day I will, but I'm not really interested right now. But I've been watching some new shows lately. If you also watch shows, because that is what I do when I knit, is I watch either movies or TV shows, like series. And the ones that I have caught up to just within the past couple weeks, is they're both on Apple TV, which is, I feel like less people have Apple TV than some other streaming, but I feel like these shows are so worth it if you're into them, or these kinds of shows. I was talking to Shreya about them because, yeah, and she recommended some. And so, yeah, I started watching. I watched Severance. And wow, when I started watching it, I didn't know that I knew that there was one season, but I didn't know that season 2 was just about to come out. And so I finished watching season 1 like a couple days before season 2 episode 1 came out, and so I thought that was really nice. Yeah, that's a crazy show. It's about this like company that you can they have this work floor. Okay, by the way, my summaries for shows and stuff are terrible, so I would say look up what these shows are about by yourself, because there's much better explanations. But there is this company that has this floor called the severance floor, and the workers who work there, they get this procedure done where when you go into work, you go through the elevator, you become a different part of yourself. So your your inside work person is a completely separate part of you, knows nothing about who you are outside of work. And then when you're outside of work, you know nothing about what you do inside of your job. And so it's kind of like having two different personalities. You just don't know about your outside self and your inside self. Your outside self doesn't know your inside work self, and your inside work self has no idea about your outside self. So it is a really crazy idea to just even be wow, just think about what that would be like. It's so crazy. But yeah, I'm loving that show right now, and so I'm just, whenever there's a new episode, I've been watching it for season 2. I wish season 2 was just all out so I could watch it all, but it's a really good show. I really like it. And then I also watched Silo, which is again on Apple TV, and I think there's two full seasons are out, so we just watched fully all through season 1 and season 2, and it was really good. That one kind of reminds me of another show that I watched. I think it's called Fallout. It has a very similar storyline, sort of, kind of. Something happened to the world that all of these people are living in these inside structures underground, and no one, you just live in there. You're not allowed to go outside, but if you're you do something really bad, or you say you want to go outside, then they send you outside to clean. And it's just, they have this screen where it shows you what outside looks like, and it looks uninhabitable. I think that everyone's told that you will die if you go outside. So yeah, if you do go outside, if you're sent outside to clean, you clean the lens on the camera for everyone to be able to see outside. But then most people just die. I think everyone just collapses and they die outside. But there's a mystery on is it actually like that outside, or is there a secret of people are being held inside for a different reason? Can you actually live outside? What's actually happening? So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say, because I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, that was a good show too. I hope those summaries didn't make it seem like they were terrible shows, because I really, really love them. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you all, because that is what I have been really enjoying lately. Okay, now I am done talking about everything, I think. So, my plan is I did not film my everything I made in 2024 video on Monday, which I had a holiday. I didn't do that. So I'm going to film it tomorrow. That's the plan. I have everything piled up next to me right now in preparation for tomorrow. And so that is the plan. I don't know when I'm going to be able to edit all of that, but fingers crossed I can get it all edited and actually out to you all to view in January. Within the month of January, that is the goal. So it's all prepped, so I should actually be filming tomorrow. It should happen. It's all out here, and it's taking up a lot of space. But I'm really excited to film that. I think I'm gonna, what I did last year, I think, was like film it in 2 sections. I put them together, so you won't really notice a difference, but I myself had to like film in one session, go and like eat lunch or dinner or something. Probably not dinner, because then it'd be too late. And then film the second one, because it would just take me kind of a while. But I gotta do some prep work tonight, so that tomorrow won't feel too crazy to do it all. But I'm really excited to share that with you all. And I'm planning on taking that picture. I've done it for the past 2 years, where I lay out all of my knits for that year, and I lay down on it and take a picture. So excited to do that too. I hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week. Bye.